So hang on one second. I'm going to put us into presentation mode. Okay, we are in presentation mode. Fantastic. All right, so we got us into presentation mode. Looks like we got about 19 people on here tonight, and you know, it's amazing to watch how people just give up on themselves as something like this comes around. I mean, you know, this is just course number 3 that we're super excited about, and I gave you guys some of the numbers last night. I'll give you the numbers again today. I mean, we started out with 99 people pre-registered for course 1, 63 showed up. 51 pre-registered for course 2, 38 showed up, and then we had 32 pre-registered for tonight, and we're currently at 21. Okay, so here's what happens, guys, is as we're doing this, and this was one of the reasons why we wanted to do this, was to see who's really serious about building a better life, right? If you're building a better life and you want to build that better life and stay the course, then you're going to come through all 5. But what happens in life in general is people just give up and they quit and they stop doing the things they know they're supposed to do. And by the time we get done with the 5th one, we're going to have the people on here that are really serious about building a better life. And I'm going to go ahead and congratulate you on that. I mean, sticking and staying is really, you know, part of the biggest part of succeeding in anything. And showing up is 80% of your success. So congratulations to you that have now made it to course 3. We're very proud of you, and we know that you're seriously looking to create a better life for you. Again, if you don't know, my name is Bill Geither. I live in Lowell, North Carolina. I am the founder of Better Life U. What is it all about? It's about just giving back to people, right? Trying to give people the foundational success principles that they can apply into their day-to-day to help them build a better life. And just to do a quick recap with you guys, you know, Monday night we talked about your why. Why is it that you want to build a better life? And it's so important to really be able to identify with that. Your homework was to, you know, do a few things. One of them was to write down your why and really spend some time visiting that. So when the day comes that you had a tough day, and you ask yourself, man, I don't even know why I'm putting myself through this. I don't even know why I'm doing that. You know, if you don't know the very clear answer to that question, that's when you quit. And you don't quit on me or anybody. You quit on yourself. You quit on your family. And we want to help you avoid that, okay? Last night, we had a great training by Miss Melia, who talked about your mindset versus your skill set, which we, you know, have determined now that really it is your mindset that matters. I mean, you know, if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way, and if you don't, you'll find an excuse. I mean, that's just the reality of mindset. You know, if you really decide you're going to do it, I think John Addison said it better than anybody I've ever heard it. He said the word decide ends in "icide," like homicide and suicide. So when you really decide something, then that means the death to all other options. So we brought you into your why. Why is it important? You know, number 2, getting your mindset right. And tonight, we're going to get down to some of the nitty-gritty, right? Setting and achieving goals. And I have the greatest of the greatest to be doing this training for you guys tonight. If you've never heard Mr. Melia do his goal-setting training and stuff, he's so good that every year I ask him to do a New Year's training on how to set goals to help our people really get a goal set for the new year. And he always agrees to do it, but he's definitely the master at that. Now, having said that, I wanted to just see before we really get into that, I wanted to see if we have anybody on here that would like to make any comments from the first 2 trainings, you know, from Sunday night and Monday night. You can raise your hand or you can just unmute yourself and start talking. But does anybody have any comments that you'd like to make? Any things you'd like to learn? Any things that have impacted you? Anything at all that you'd like to say from the first 2 nights before we get fired up here tonight? Again, you can raise your hand or just unmute yourself and start talking. All right. Kylie, let's go to you. I see you raising your hand.
Yeah, just I wanted to hit on Kim's training last night, and you know, it was very helpful. I remember last night I asked a question on like where really to start, like in personal development, just because it can be very overwhelming because there's things everywhere. And she just answered that question very well for me and helped me find a good, like, I guess you could say starting point or restarting point, because it's something that I've been raised around, but, it's still easy to fall out of and then get back into. So more like restarting point. But it was just very cool to hear from somebody else, from somebody that's very successful and doing very well in life, that they even have struggles, and that, okay, well, here's the starting point, because I've been through that too. So.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you 100%. And look, it's never too late to start, but it's always too early to quit, right? So, as long as you get started, the best place to get started is at the beginning, and it's a simple philosophy. I believe it was, I could be wrong, a lady named Tammy that was talking about she watched The Secret last night. Who was that, as we were chiming in, said they watched The Secret last night? Was that you, Tammy?
Yes.
I'm going to unmute you there. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that? That was a suggestion. It wasn't even your homework, but it was a suggestion, and you took it. So talk to us a little about that.
I loved it. I was like, okay, what's this going to be about? And they were talking about starting to talk, I was like, wow, okay. Because I had heard that before, that it's your mindset. You can think of what you want in life and think it and make it come. And it was so impacting. I will probably watch it again. And like I said, I had asked my daughter, who suffers from anxiety and depression. So I don't know how to deal with that, because I was always a very strong person, independent person. So I asked her to just appease me and do me a favor and watch that. So, I mean, it really was amazing. I wrote so many notes down. So a lot of the quotes that I plan on, going back to, and it even got me to go ahead and watch more on that Jim Rohn today and listen to a lot of his seminars. So yeah, it's got me to think that I need to start doing more change my thought process. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Thank you.
And 100%. I mean, listen, our minds really create our life, and it's the one thing that we can work on the most, right? I mean, you can't change, pretty much what's happening in the world. You can't change politics and starvation and all this but what you can change is you. And if you change you, the things around you will change with you. And it's an amazing lesson. So I'm so excited to hear that. So I'll just recommend that again. If you guys haven't ever seen that movie, The Secret, it's on Netflix. If you have Netflix, you can go and watch. It's 90 minutes. Very eye-opening. I remember, and it was Mr. Mike Melia and his partner Kim that you heard from last night that put, we had an event, a training that we were at. We went out to California, and there was about 400 people, 400 of us in the room. And I had heard about The Secret for about 6 months prior to that. And I just never took the time to watch it. I had some of my other friends and business partners call me saying, oh, you should watch this. And I just never made it a priority. And we go to California, and, this big event that we had, and they took 90 minutes out of it and just showed that movie to all 400 of us. It was that important. So sorry, that's my internet phone calling me. They'll hang up in a minute. But so good. So anybody else with anything else you'd like to say from the last 2 nights before we move on?
I would like to say something, Bill.
Sure, go right ahead, Elizabeth.
I rewatched The Secret, and I watched some Jim Rohn, and I think one of the things I think people miss a lot is it is your thoughts that create your life, but it's also your response to what happens around you. Your response is everything. You can choose to respond in negative ways, and you can choose to respond in positive ways. And Bill, my history. I was diagnosed and supposed to be dead in 2007. And I just took it as a challenge, I knew I needed to live because I had kids to raise, but I just looked at it as a challenge. And it was my response to that, instead of being negative about it, I think that made all the difference in my recovery. So response to things that are out of your control, or it's important.
Absolutely, 100% agree with it. What you're saying, I mean, how we choose. Jim Rohn says it. He said, it's not the blowing of the wind. The same wind blows on us all. It's the set of your sail that matters. Right? It's the set of your sail that matters. And my mom, God bless her soul, she was that person. She always knew she was going to get cancer. Well, guess what? She got cancer. And as soon as she got cancer, she knew she was going to die. And guess what? She died. I mean, there was never, it was never, I'm going to beat it. I mean, she did all the stuff, but she knew I'm going to get cancer and I'm going to die. And she brought that into her life. And that's exactly what happened. So, so good stuff. All right. Well, guys, I don't want to keep this gentleman held up any longer. We have an amazing training. I don't know exactly what he's going to give us, but I can tell you, you want to have a good pen. You want to have your notebook ready. I got mine right here, taking notes, right? I'm hosting all this, but I'm learning too. I mean, I stay a student, man. So turn your cameras on if you can. We definitely want this to be interactive. So if he asks questions, ask you to raise your hand, nod your head, something like that. We would prefer your camera on if it's possible. You know, if you need to blow your nose or something, you certainly can turn it off while you do that. But turn it back on once you get done, because we want this to be something that we can be a part of together. So this gentleman, there's been a lot of people that have had major influences in my life. If you were to ask me, though, who the one person is that really has influenced my life the most, it's the gentleman that you're going to hear from tonight. He's somebody that took me under his wing 20 years ago, almost 19 years ago, when I was, what's the word I'm looking for? Cocky, ambitious young man, 28 years old, and I was going to set the world on fire, and I had all these thoughts and all these ideas, and he pulled me in and he said, all right, great. I'm going to coach you if you're willing to be coachable. And probably the first 3 years of our relationship, I thought I was coachable, but I learned that I was only coachable if I agreed with the coaching. And so I learned to change that because of this gentleman. He's had all kinds of success in his life. He started a health food stores up in the New York area that back in the 70s that's still around today. He's traveled all around the world, North America especially, really helping people build a better life. He was a part of that foundation with the girls' orphanage in Guatemala. As a matter of fact, Kim really grabbed that bull by the horns and ran with it, but it was Melia that brought it to Kim and said, hey, I found this. This is something that we may want to consider. And so, he brought that together. He's made millions and millions of dollars in his day. He's, literally built well over multiple six figures a year. I think last I heard $500,000-$600,000 a year in passive income, meaning that's coming in whether he does anything or not. And he was somebody that when I called him about this, he said, you know what, I think it's a great idea, and I certainly would love to participate. And that's just the kind of human being that he is, that he will just give and give and give, because he understands that same foundational philosophy that if you help enough people get what they want, you will get everything that you want. So Mike, I hope you're going to share some of your story and some of your lifestyle before you get into your training, because we want to know what you've built and where you came from. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Mr. Mike Melia. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, Bill. I appreciate it, sir. And welcome to everybody. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And Bill, thanks for the opportunity to share some of my insights with everybody tonight and this afternoon. It's only afternoon here. I'm in Las Vegas today. I was in Northern Ontario on Sunday afternoon. It was Sunday evening when you launched this program. And I had to step away. We had about 26, 27 people up there at a retreat right on a lake. I stepped away from the folks and listened in because I wanted to make sure that I had some continuity with what's going on. I was traveling yesterday when Kim did her piece. And so earlier today, I got the link from you and I watched Kim's piece because, I wanted to make sure I was building on what you guys have already done. And for those of you who don't know, it was Bill that designed the flow of this and put together the topics for every day. And they made a lot of sense to me as soon as I heard what he had to say. And so, my theme tonight, my talking tonight, it's on goal setting and goal achieving. But, Bill talked on Sunday about the why. He covered a little bit about that. But I'm going to just make some comments about that and how that was for me. Being clear about your why, what you're committed to is essential to your long-term success. We can all, do things for a short period of time, but what's going to carry us over the tougher times? And, noting that your reasons for pursuing your goals, you need to know what they are Now they're going to change, and I'll give you an example of it. When I started my current business enterprise, as it was my why, my immediate why was to get my daughters through university. Now both of my daughters were just top-notch students, and they both had ambitions that while I'm not necessarily a big fan of going to of the university system and stuff, in some situations you really want those things. And my older daughter today is an attorney. She's an immigration attorney. She helps the downtrodden. That comes from her heart. I think in some ways, lucky for her, her husband is an IT specialist, and so he generates a lot of money, because a lot of the work my daughter does is really on pro bono stuff, stuff like that. My second daughter wanted to be a filmmaker, and because I had a strong why and I took advantage and built a business, I could generate the capital, I could generate the funds to send her to the best film school in the country. Well, you know what? Both of those things are paid off. My older daughter's an attorney. My younger daughter's a filmmaker. In fact, she has a film right now that's out in theaters all across North America. It's an independent film called The Farewell. It's doing quite well. But I bring up both of those things because, as Bill said the other day, over time, your why will change. And now my why to get them through college, they're through college. They're out. They're done. They're gone on to, in essence, for themselves, greener pastures. And so you've got to continue to pursue what's going to keep you continuing to work. Kim talked about it yesterday that she just wants to keep doing things. She wants to serve people. She wants to help people. And for me, the biggest thing really is helping people change their life circumstances and enhance their lives. As Bill would say, building a better life. And so when Bill came to me with this idea, I thought, what a great idea. And sure, I'll be happy to be part of it. But I say all that to say that, as a result of being part of this, I had to put aside a serious part of today to make sure I was prepared to share this information with you, even though the information I'm going to share is stuff that's almost second nature to me because I know it so well. Okay. The other thing I'll talk about just a little bit is Kim talked about mindset, and she talked about mindset and skill set. But for me, the biggest thing that she covered was the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. You've got to have a growth mindset. Bill talked about that when he defined himself as a student. When you define yourself as a student, what does it mean? It means you're open to learning new stuff. And my one recommendation to everybody on this Zoominar here is identify yourself as a student through this class, but also beyond this class. And no matter how successful and what level of success you achieve, here's the one thing I'm going to recommend there is never get the sense that I've arrived, I'm done. Because if you've arrived and you're done, everything closes down. You close your mind, and you're also closing off all kinds of opportunities that might come your way. Here's what we know, okay? This is going to sound familiar. The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. And I'm always thankful to Bill when it reminds me of that quote, because that's something that he and I share. We share that philosophy, the philosophy that, you've got to take the action. You've got to make a definite commitment to what it is you're going on. So I'm going to talk about today, the simple practice of setting goals, and then the action the importance of achieving goals. Now, I'm going to step back just a little bit before I go into the goal setting process itself. And because many, many people over the years when I've taught this kind of stuff, is people have asked me the question, what if I don't know what I want? What if I don't know what I want to bring into being? And I will tell you that this really, and I had the opportunity a couple of days ago, lakeside up by Lake Manitowoc, I think I'm saying it right, Lake Manitowoc in Ontario, where we had the retreat to really talk a little bit about this. What if you don't know? And really that's where dreaming comes in. And dreaming about what's possible. And I don't care how old we are, whether we're 12. I mean, I taught these principles to my children when they were as young as 6, 7, 8 years old. I've taught, people in their 70s and their 80s, even people pushing their 90s to employ these ideas. But dreaming is an exercise of your imagination. That's what it is. And unfortunately, in our society, in the culture that most of us have grown up in, imagination gets squelched. Unless you're an artist or a musician or something like that, people are even subtly and not so subtly people down for dreaming. And I'm here to give you permission to dream again, to reach higher. In fact, say you say, well, how do I go about doing that? I'm going to give you a very simple exercise. Get a journal. Whoops, snuck my phone over there. Here's my journal, right? Okay, this is my latest journal. I've got literally dozens and dozens and dozens of these things. I just moved and recently took a bunch of stuff out of storage, and I discovered a whole box of journals. It was almost intimidating to see it. But interestingly enough, when I go through those journals, a lot of the ideas and philosophies that I've written down over time when I'm taking notes at other people's talks are very similar. There's consistent ideas there. And as Jim Rohn said, there's no new truths. Truth is truth. Principles are principles. And so here's my exercise for you, though. Get a journal and spend a little time every day doing this, writing at the top of the page, if anything were possible, ... and then fill it in. If anything were possible, what would you do? If anything were possible, what would you have? If anything were possible, where would you go? If anything were possible, what kind of home would you live in? And just to explore all those different areas, because what that's going to do is awaken your imagination. Now, you may already be very, very clear about what it is you're after, what it is you want to achieve in life. And if you are, fine, you can sort of skip ahead in this talk a little bit. But you want to make sure that out of your dream is about anything being possible, and then you sort of refine that into what I call your vision. Your vision is a little more specific, or maybe even a lot more specific. Not overnight, but over time, you're going to define that vision, and you're going to refine that vision, and you're going to refine it again and refine it again. Just like the why you start with isn't the why you finish with. The vision you start with isn't necessarily the vision you finish with. Sometimes it is, I'll give you an example of my daughter, who's 33 years old now, almost 34. Ever since she's 8 years old, she wanted to be a filmmaker. People say, oh, you want to be an actor like your mom, you want to be in the movies. She had said, no. I want to make the movies. I want to be the person, and she's not even a director. She's not the person behind the camera, but she's the designer, the producer. That's what she wanted to do. But she had a clear vision. Okay. Now, once your vision's clear, you want to make sure that your vision really is an expression of your sense of purpose. Sometimes people have a very specific sense of purpose. Sometimes it's more of a feeling. Either way, it's the same thing. You also want to make sure that your vision is something you're passionate about, because your passion and your sense of purpose will drive the vision. It'll give you, it'll help you deepen your why. And your why is always going to be the engine that runs it. Okay. So, I'm going to shift now to really the goal setting process. Now you may or may not be already all the way to the point where you're ready to write your goals down, but wherever you are, there are goals that you have, and there are goals that you want to define. Later on, when I give you the assignment, I'm going to ask you to pick 3 goals and apply the process, or my Canadian friends would say, the process I'm about to describe to you to those goals, okay? So now, interestingly enough, the information I'm going to share with you coming up, I didn't make up myself. In fact, I don't know who it was. I think it was one of the young ladies who spoke before, talked about Napoleon Hill and how she had found a bunch of stuff that Napoleon Hill had done. And I tell you, Napoleon Hill, in essence, he's sort of the granddaddy of modern personal development, if you will. His classic, Think and Grow Rich, continues to be just that, a classic. And it's a powerful book. Sometimes it's not an easy book to read, because some of the concepts in that book on the surface seem really simple, but when you drill down a little bit, some of them can be very, very challenging. But I'm not going to go into all that today. What I'm going to talk to you today is about Napoleon Hill's 6-step process of setting goals. Okay, just easy 6 steps. Anybody can do it. Now, before I go into them, we also get from Napoleon Hill a very, very famous quote towards success. What does it take to be successful in life? Number 1, a burning desire. And when he interviewed all the rich people, all the wealthy people, all the successful artists and all the successful people he interviewed way back, he found that the one thing they all had in common was a burning desire. They really wanted stuff. Sometimes that burning desire in modern culture does get beat up out of us. And so you have to sort of recultivate that. Again, I'm going to recommend you do that. You're going to get more tips around that. But one of the key ways of cultivating a great burning desire is to hang out with other people that's got a burning desire, hanging out with other people that are going places. Okay. He called it building a mastermind team. Okay. So burning desire. Secondly, is a willingness to do the work. Now here's what I believe. I believe if you really have a burning desire, it's easy to do the work. It's easy because you have a clear vision of where you're going, and it's easy then to borrow from the promise of that vision to do the work of today. Okay. Third thing is to be teachable, to be coachable. And all of you are exhibiting that right now, simply being here. You're on this call, it's 3 days in, and just like Bill said, life gets in the way, even in a short period of time like this. It's obviously easy to do a 5-day course than it is to do a 5-week course. Easier to do a 5-week course than it is to do a 3-month course. I used to teach a 3-month course called Strategy and Mastery. And in that 3-month course, people used to pay me a pretty good sum of money to be part of that. It met 10 times over 3 months. Here's an interesting factor. Only half the people that paid a pretty good penny to be part of that course completed that course. So I congratulate each and every one of you today for staying here, being on course, being in the course, being here, and continue that. Whenever you decide you want to go, continue it. It's not going to take a few days. It's not going to take a few weeks, probably more likely a few months or even a few years to achieve some of the goals that you've got. Okay, so burning desire, willingness to work, willingness to be coachable. Now I'm going to go into the 6 steps of setting goals. Now, really, guys, this is going to be simple. So I want you to take some notes about it. And then for the assignment today, I'm very simply going to ask everybody to go back and pick 3 goals, and then apply the 6-step process to it. Okay. So number 1, real simple, your goals should be written. Now, this sounds familiar because, Bill talked about writing down your why. Kim talked about how she wrote down her why and her goals years ago, and how all those goals that she wrote down have come to pass. And then Kim even held up her notebook that had page after page after page of the goals that she has written since then. Okay, so number 1, you want to make sure you write your goals. Some people say, oh, I know what I want, it's all up here. Guys, I promise you, it's not good enough. Thinking starts here, but when you put it into words and you put it on paper, you're taking a step towards committing to that goal, okay? And that's so vitally important. Number 2, your goals need to be specific. Real simple, need to be specific. And what does that mean? It means you can measure it. It means you'll recognize it when it shows up. Years ago, I had a goal. I wrote it down. I was just starting to get goal setting down. I wanted a bass guitar. I had a couple of guitars and I wanted a bass guitar. And sure enough, I manifested a bass guitar, but guess what? It was in terrible condition. It was in horrible condition. So really what I wanted was a good bass guitar. And so sometimes you got to be more specific about it. Like if you want a car, what kind of car do you want? Be specific about it. Maybe, whatever it is, because you can have a car and that car can break down every day and stuff like that. So your goals need to be specific. You need to be able to measure them. If your goal is clear, if your goal is vague, you'll manifest vague results. If your goal is clear, you'll get clear results. It's really that simple. Okay, so number 1, written. Number 2, specific. Number 3, you want to attach a time element to it. When do you want to achieve that goal by? If we have a goal and it's specific, but there's no time element, it really sort of stays in the wish phase. We wish we could have this. That's not, I want to have this. There's a difference. And so when you put a time element on it, you're creating a structural tension in it, because here's what you want, and here's what you want, and here's what you are. And so that's an important part. Okay, you want it by a specific time. Now, Brian Tracy, one of my mentors, he said this. He said, there are no unrealistic goals. There may be unrealistic time elements. So you may put a time element on a goal that you have. You may have already done this, and maybe you didn't achieve it in that time frame. That's fine. If you still want that goal, don't back down. Stay with that goal and just give it a new time frame. That's all. Okay, that's called plan, do, and review. Talk a little bit more about that later. So written, specific, time element involved. And then this one this is where I think it gets a little more creative, because you develop a game plan. You design a game plan. And as my partner Kim says, and I always love the quote of saying this, the plan you start with is not the plan that gets you where you're going. And so it's very, very important to understand this. Your plan is a work in progress, okay? Your plan's a work in progress. My plan's a work in progress. And so that's where, as you move towards a plan, one of the elements you want to be able to do is to plan and then execute the plan, and then review how it's going and adjust the plan as you're going along. Okay, this is an important part, that your plan's a work in progress. In fact, check this out. You and me, we're both works in progress, right? Even try that on for size. Say to yourself, I'm a work in progress. Think about that. I am a work in progress. You're a work in progress. And you know what? That's fantastic, because that allows you the ability to continue to grow. And that really means you recognize, you're going to continue to grow. Okay, so the fourth step and the sixth steps in goal setting is designing a game plan. And I refer to it like this. You want to do a quick and dirty game plan. And why I call it quick and dirty is it shouldn't take a lot of time. The purpose of that plan is to help you get into action. So the plan needs to be specific enough that you know what your first few steps are. It needs to be, big enough that it's not closing you in, it's not limiting you. So the plan is a work in progress. I say quick and dirty because you want to do it quick, because in the plan do a review process, you're going to be planning again and again and again. And when I say dirty, I just mean I don't want it to be I don't want you to over weigh yourself down with details. Okay. Yes, you need some details, but sometimes people are so meticulous in their planning that it simply becomes a way of putting off getting into activity. So I want to make sure that you do your plan, you get it down there, you get it on paper, and then you go out and execute the plan. The purpose of the plan is to help you move forward. It's that simple. And again, you're going to have to plan, do, and review. Depending on the scope of the plan, you might plan, do, and review every day. Sometimes if you're coming to meet a deadline, you're going to plan, do, and review every few hours. Sometimes you're only in certain projects, you might plan, do, and review once a week or even once a month. It all depends on the scope of the goal that you're going after, okay? So setting your plan in place, understanding the plan is a work in progress, and you're going to continue to have to plan, do, and review. Now, so a quick review, goal written, specific, time element involved, generate a game plan. And then number 5, and I love, number 5 is there's a price to pay. We've got a friend of ours, Bill knows this gentleman. I know him. His name is Frank McCoy. Frank is a small businessman, just a tremendous, has a business mind that, is crazy. I mean, he's very, very, very clever business-wise, very smart. But one of the things that Frank taught me was when you're paying a price on something that's important to you, don't look for shortcuts. Pay, what he would say, pay full retail. Don't look for the wholesale shortcut. Don't look to cut corners, because as you're paying the price and you're building a future, you're also strengthening your own personal foundation. So you want to make sure that you're building when you've heard the expression by David Thoreau, maybe, don't worry if you built your castles in the air, that's where they belong, but get to work building a foundation underneath them. So it's fine to dream, but the work is in building a foundation. When you're pursuing your goals and stuff, one of the things my brother likes to talk about, my brother Steve Melia, he said, you could, when you're building something in the beginning, you might not see much going on. It's just like when you plant seeds and you wait for a carrot plant to come up. You might not see anything for days and days, even weeks, but you don't go digging up the seed to see how it's doing, right? Because once that seed breaks ground and sprouts up, it starts to grow faster and faster. Same way when someone's building a building. You might drive by a construction site for days and weeks on end, and all you see is a big hole in the ground there. But once that foundation's in place and it's strong, the building goes up very quickly. And the same thing can happen with your dreams. So make sure when you're paying the price, and paying the price means this, you're going to sacrifice. You can't, I'm on my way to California tomorrow, okay? I can't have a goal to be in California and New York at the same time. So, if I've got something good going on in New York, but it's more important for me to be in California, I'm sacrificing being in New York, if that makes any sense. So there's always going to be sacrifice involved. My brother Steve puts it this way: in order to go up, you've got to give up. And I say this is that pay the price with a smile. I mean, you're pursuing your goals, you're pursuing your passion. It's something you really want to do. So don't give yourself a hard time about that. Sometimes, our people around us they'll say, oh, you're always doing that thing. You're always focused on that. Why can't you, whatever. But folks, if it's your dreams and your goals, you've got to protect your time and energy, and you've got to stay focused on it, regardless of what the other distractions are. And in a way, staying focused is almost, in a way, paying the price. It's the price to pay to achieve what you want. That's number 5. And then number 6, and those of you who watch The Secret, and those of you who haven't watched The Secret, I also stand with Bill. I recommend it. The Secret's a lot about using your subconscious mind. The number 6 is employ your subconscious mind. Kim talked about affirmations yesterday. Affirmations are a great way of reprogramming your subconscious mind. Okay. Lots of times, we don't mean to do this, but lots of times what happens is, our condition process. I put it this way. My friend John Gardner says, we're designed for success, but often conditioned for failure. And that happens for a lot of us where, there's a lot of agreement out in the world for settling for less than you can have. I had a mentor one time, a gentleman, his name is Robert Fritz. Robert said a bunch of different things to me, but one of the things he said one day, he said this, he said, it's hard to put your life spirit behind a compromise. Okay, check that out. It's hard to put your life spirit behind a compromise, because what happens is if you start compromising, you're investing less of your life spirit in it. And so if you want to invest yourself fully in something, you want to make sure it's something you really, really want. And my recommendation is don't compromise your dreams. Don't compromise your vision. Okay. What do we got there? All right. Okay. Another thing that I've said myself before, I extrapolated from there. Bill, I think we got somebody off mute there. I'm not sure, besides myself. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit of back there. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, another thing on that, in terms of compromise and stuff, I realized a while back, if you're willing to compromise, life will give you what it is you're willing to compromise for, too. So the other thing I recommend, when something's important enough to you, not everything, I'm not saying never compromise, because sometimes you're involved with people and negotiations and doing something collaboratively, compromise called for. But don't compromise on the really important things, okay? Don't compromise on the things that are of primary importance to you in your life and in your life's creation, okay? So in employing your subconscious mind, you're gonna use affirmations, you're gonna use goals. My brother Steve, who I referred to earlier, he wrote a book called 30 Ways in 30 Days. And the first chapter of that book is about getting your day started right. And in getting your day started right, what he does is every morning get up, write down 10 or 15 goals. He says, do it freshly. Turn over a new page, write them down. Write down 3 things you did yesterday that helped you move yourself in favor of your goals. Write down at least 3 things you're grateful for, okay? And he would do this on a daily basis and recommend doing it on a daily basis. One of the great things about that is it helps you give shape to the day. Either you plan your day or your day gets planned for you. And that's important, just like the game plan, the game plan here, you're setting up a game plan. It's been said that he who fails to plan plans to fail. So you need to have a plan. Again, your plan is a work in progress. So those are the 6 steps of goal setting. Employ your subconscious mind. The other ways you can employ it is dream boards, vision boards. Write your goals down, post them up, have them on your phone, have them, have maybe we were with my friend Moya Roberts yesterday, and there's a very specific 48-foot bay lining that she wants. And guess what? When you open up her laptop, that's what the screensaver is, a picture of that boat. So she sees it again and again and again and again. And when you do that, when you put up pictures, you post up pictures of what you want or words what you want, whenever you see those things, in your mind, just say yes. Just say yes to it. Continue to say yes, because one of the most important things is you are rearranging your subconscious mind to include manifesting whatever it is you choose to manifest. Many times, like I said earlier, our subconscious mind has been conditioned negatively, not on purpose. We didn't do it on purpose. Happened sort of, hit and miss as we're going through things, as we're going through life. So one of the things you can consciously do is redesign your self-image, just writing out, I am, and just write out a whole statement of who you are, how you want to show up in life. And your ideal self-image might be in conflict or, with some of what your conditioned self-image. But that's the way you change it, not overnight, but over time. And like Kim said yesterday, awareness is the key, okay? The biggest key of anything you're going to learn here, it's awareness. I think it was Elizabeth who spoke before and talked about, how you respond to things. How you respond matters, right? But of course, what she had going for her, she was aware that it mattered. She was aware that how she responded to a very tough situation in life, she was aware that how she responded mattered. And then she responded consciously according to the way she wanted to. And quite frankly, it made all the difference. So congratulations to you on that one, because we're happy you're still with us. Okay, so achieving goals. This is the last part of my thing, and I'm not going to go into a lot of this. Achieving goals is really going to come more out of continuing to cultivate the open-mindedness, the mindset that Kim talked about yesterday, continuing to focus on your why, letting your why drive the activities, continuing to plan, do, and review, and that's going to be your daily activity. We're never going to achieve particularly a big goal overnight. It's going to happen over time. So you have to cultivate a clear vision and then hold that vision over time. The same mentor who told me it's hard to put your life spirit behind a compromise taught me a concept called structural tension. And structural tension says this: here's your vision and here's your reality. The beauty is it's a current reality. Your vision you want to hold steady. If you hold your vision clearly and you hold it steady over time, not overnight, but over time, the current reality, because it's current, right? It's moving. The current reality will resolve over time in favor of your vision. If your current reality's here and your vision's here and you get flaky about your vision or unclear, or you drop your vision, right? You're taking the tension out of the system. If you're not honest with yourself about where you are, say you're going here, but you're telling yourself you're already here, but you're really still here, you're taking the tension out of the system. The tension is a natural part of the system, and tension seeks resolution. So physics is on your side. Time is on your side, because to get where you want to go, the element of time is vitally important. If time didn't exist and if time wasn't on your side, you couldn't over time manifest your vision. And that's exactly what you do. So the tools I gave you today, those 6 steps, okay? Your homework for the day is really simple. Choose 3 goals. They can be big goals, they can be little goals. Choose 3 goals, preferably one of them is probably really important to you, because that'll really help out for you, because that's what you really want to accomplish, those goals that are important. And then apply that 6-step process to those goals. Okay, very, very simple. Choose 3 goals, apply those 6 steps. So Bill, that's going to be it for my teaching part of that. I know you guys have been taking questions and stuff, and so I can spend the next 5 or 6 minutes doing that, and then I got to boogie on out of here. I am in Vegas after all.
Hey, absolutely, and fantastic training, Mike. Let me just ask you, what's the importance when setting goals for them being like present tense versus, something I'm going to get into the future?
Well, there's different thinkings on it. Like some people think it's perfectly cool to say, I will achieve this by such and such. And some people think I have this on such and such. And to me, it really, as long as you're clear about what you want and when you want to have it by, I'm good either way. Some people, like this, like my brother is a big fan of saying, You know, like say he wants to be a sportscaster. I'm not saying he does, but say he wanted to be, I am a sportscaster for the New York Yankees by December 31st, 2021. Okay. You can say that I am, but you're still putting in by there. Or I don't personally, think it matters that much, but some people do. So if you do think it matters, it matters. If you don't think it matters, it's probably not that important.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite ones, guys, just for what it's worth, is to lead in with, I am so happy and grateful that, right? And if you watch The Secret, that's really where that came from.
Yes,
I am so happy and grateful that, and then fill in the rest of your goal there. So good.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Melia? He says he's got about 5 or 6 minutes. He'd be glad to do a little Q&A. So you can unmute yourself and just ask a question or raise your hand. And if you have any questions or comments for Mr. Melia. Elizabeth, let's go to you.
What was that quote again about your, what was it? Something behind your, oh gosh, I lost it.
It's hard to put your life spirit behind a compromise.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome, Elizabeth.
All right. Anybody else with comments or questions for Mr. Melia? Who was the author? Steve Melia was the author of 30 Ways in 30 Days.
Yeah, that's my kid brother, Steve, my younger brother.
Phenomenal
it's a
book.
wonderful book. Yeah, it's a great book. Powerful book. Easy to read.
All right. Any other comments or questions for Mr. Melia? Raise your hand or just unmute yourself and start talking. I do want to just say this quick in the steps. Number 2 was be specific. And guys, this one is so important. Like, Mike talked about, he said he wanted a bass guitar and he ended up getting a bass guitar, but it was a crappy bass guitar, right? And I'm going to just give you an example of one that I did for many years that came together, but I was not as specific as I needed to be. And it was each year it was always going to be, I'm going to lose weight, right? I'm going to lose. So I got more specific about it. And I said, the year before last, when I started my goals for a year, I have lost 100 pounds by, and I had to date and all that kind of stuff. And where I didn't realize is I needed to be even more specific about how I lost 100 pounds, right? By having a good diet or by exercising 30 minutes a day. Or I didn't put that in there. I have lost 100 pounds by. And you want to know something? That goal came true. But it came true because God hit me with diabetes and I lost 100 pounds. Okay? So be specific, okay? It's very important that you're specific. So anybody else with any last final common questions for Mr. Melia? Comments? Questions?
On the goals, there could be so many. How small should you start with your goal? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Like, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to start with small goals. You can start with big goals, because the dynamic is the same. The time frames are obviously going to be different, right? But you can do this with any kind of goal. I mean, some things you really don't have to do the process on. Say a new movie comes out, I'm going to go see this new movie. It doesn't really take me writing it all down and everything else. It just takes me making that decision, and it's because it's easy enough to do. It's almost second nature for me to do it. But if it's something I don't know how I'm going to achieve it, this particular process is very, very useful.
Yes, so far. Thank you.
All right.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. So, Mr. Melia, I know you got to go. Do you have any final comments, anything you'd like to say as you wrap up, and we'll get done here?
I'll just say I have this gentleman's business card sitting here on my desk in the hotel, and you can't really see it, or maybe you can now. You see it how it's all lifted? This is a gentleman I met over the weekend who's blind. So he made himself a Braille business card, and he's Canada's only blind clown. But he was at this retreat I was at over the weekend, and we were playing Jenga with 2x4s. So it was a big Jenga board. And this gentleman, blind, I consider myself a pretty good Jenga player. He beat me playing Jenga. And so I say to this, if this guy could do that when he's blind, understand this, we all have a lot of advantages. We have, sometimes we have specific disadvantages, but use your disadvantages to your advantage and stay the course. Keep good people around you. That's my biggest thing, is keep good people around you. A benefit of a course like this is, look around and see who the other people are, and consider expanding your friendship base from just some of the people here, because I think that that's the way, you protect your goals and your vision, by having people that are on your side, that having people that have your back and such. And Bill, I appreciate once again the opportunity to be part of this. I know tomorrow my good friend, a gentleman that I've known for a number of years now, Chip Humphrey, and was an Acapulco cliff diving champion back in 1979. He's going to be doing a piece tomorrow. And then, of course, we've got you, Bill, on Thursday, wrapping this particular course up. After week one, not week one, but day one, I reached out to a bunch of my people that I know that I hadn't reached out to earlier, and sent them over to Better Life U to register so they can take this course, and next time it's available. So I'll sign off, guys. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you all. Good luck with your goals. Luck is only part of it, obviously, but good luck anyway. And we appreciate you. We care about you. And like Bill says, we're here to help you achieve what you want. And it's enlightened self-interest, because we know it all comes back to us. As you sow, so shall you reap. Adios for now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Melia. So guys, I hope you guys got some good stuff out of that. Tomorrow we will have Mr. Chip Humphrey, who's going to be talking about personal development, okay? Which is going to be, where we're working on our minds and stuff like that. And then on Thursday, I'm going to come in and we're going to talk specifically about your laws of association, which is what Mr. Melia was just talking about as well. I just put the link into the chat to get registered for tomorrow's class. So you can go get it right there and get registered if you'd like to do that. If you don't get it, here's where I'm at right now. Is I've had some people this week, they're like, oh, I didn't get the link in time to get registered, or I registered and I didn't get the email, or I lost the email, or what? Look, guys, you got to take responsibility for yourself, okay? If you registered and you don't see the email right away, go register again until you get the email, okay? Maybe you had a typo in your email address or something, or if you don't have it, make sure you reach out to me early enough in the day. Don't message me after the training is over and say, oh, I didn't get the link, can I make it up? No, listen, this is the way this works. You get on the first one, you can come to the second. You get on the second one, you can come to the third one. You get on the third one, you come to the fourth one. And if you get on the fourth one, you can come to the fifth one. If you miss one, that's where you stop. I've already put the link out. The next series will actually start on September the 15th. That's Sunday the 15th. I've already put the link out for that. It's in the Better Life U Facebook group. We already have like 15 people registered for the next series. And I just put the link out last night. So the word is getting out. Put it out there to your folks, your friends. Go add them to the Better Life U Facebook group. Let them know that you've been through this course if you're getting value out of it. Again, we would appreciate if you would go into that Facebook group and make a post if you're getting some value out of this, to let those other people. Right now there's about 180 something people in that group. Let them know if you're getting value out of this, because we really just want to bring this value to people to help them be able to go out and build a better life. So I'm going to put that link out there one more time in the chat so you can go get it. Tomorrow night we have Mr. Chip Humphrey. I'll give you all his accolades tomorrow, but he was the Acapulco cliff diving champion on the wide world of sports back in the 70s, 1979. It's incredible. Maybe he'll even show us a video of that. He likes to do that, so maybe he'll do that. But and then Thursday we'll wrap up with your law of associations, which I think may be the absolute most important part of your success, is being around people that support your success and want to help you succeed. So I'm going to unmute us here. If we have anybody has any comments, or if you just want to say goodbye, that's fine. But hang on one second. Let's see here, participants, and unmute all. Okay, everybody's unmuted. Any final comments or anything?
Thanks, guys, for all your fine work.
All right.
Thank
Fantastic.
you.
Yeah, thank you for putting the series together.
My pleasure. With that, guys, we'll see you back here tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Have a great night.
Thanks for everything.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, the funny thing about setting